Hey, Kiwi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Can I hear you? Yay! Hey,
Hello.
this is me, the old one.
Hi.
How are you?
Forgive, I'm great. Forgive my hotel room situation here. And I'm zooming to you from bed. But you know what? That's pretty much where I do all my work anyway. Let's be real.
It's been way too long. It's so nice to see you.
I love this setup you have. This is great. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, this is our amazing film club at the University of Colorado, Denver.
Excellent.
We have a room full of big fans. We just watched 10 Things I Hate About You. So good. A lot of tears, including mine. People are singing. Yeah, they're singing and they're doing that thing where you wave at your eyes. I don't know why people do that, but I saw a lot of that going on. I'm talking about you, Haley. So these are our lovely and amazing moderators, Andrew and Emily. Hello. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we're gonna get started. Are you good?
Great.
All right, let's do it.
Mawa, yes, I am. Yes, I'm great.
Awesome. I'm Emily. So nice to meet you. I'm a sophomore here at Denver from the film program in our school.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm a freshman here at the film program, and 10 Things I Hate About You is like the best movie ever.
It's so good.
Oh, you guys. You guys, it's so crazy to think about. The movie turns 25 this year.
Yeah.
Which is just so cool that you who are not even yet 25, I'm assuming you're 18, 19, 20, 20, this range, right? 21. Yeah, it's weird. It was made and written and created before you were conceived. And I'm glad it still feels like I'm glad it's enjoyable after all this time.
It's very good.
So good.
We have a lot of questions for you. I hope that's okay.
Yes,
But
yes,
one,
I love that. Thank you.
You have so many movies, and they're so often about women's stories and about women finding individuality and like speaking up for themselves. And we were just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you're drawn to these stories and how you have fought to keep your voice in the stories you're telling and make sure it doesn't get like kind of washed out by other like filmmakers. Like in that process, like how do you keep your voice heard in these stories about women and individuality and like finding yourself?
Well, I guess it's just sort of in terms of like the subject matter, just innately what I'm interested in and what I was interested in as a young writer and still am interested in is female driven stories where there's a little bit of a defiance, a little bit of a punk rock energy, a little bit of an aspirational self-confidence. I think, I write with a partner and for all these films, and I work on my own and in different partnerships as well. But I think the shared energy that my writing partner and I had at that time was very like we're outside the business. We didn't have any relatives in the film industry. We were young, scrappy girls, sort of just trying to break in and wanting. I very much wanted to watch movies that we wrote movies that we didn't have. We wanted to see more of, So it was just from a real fan point of view. It's like we had a desire to write, ambition to burn, and a real like this is what and a fandom like I want to see these movies, so we're going to write these stories. So I'm glad that came through. And in terms of getting pushed out of the process, I I think it maybe it was a part of there was there were these movies when they were made, they're smaller budget movies, right? In terms of a studio scale, like it's not $100 million movie, it's a $15 million movie. So um, therefore, I think we were less under the microscope. There was less large committee. We hear a lot about Marvel movies and how even if you're Taika Waititi, you're beholden to a huge committee of people that you have to work with. these movies didn't feel like that. There was less microscope on them. So I think even the same thing for independent film, right? If you're making a, $1 million, $5 million movie, the smaller your budget is, the less involvement you're asking from other people in a way. But yeah, I mean, we were definitely with 10 Things. There were rocky times. The director tried to fire us a few times, replaced us. He had a committee of about 10 male writers in their 40s who came and rewrote the script after our first table read. And because he came from television, and that was just a kind of par for the course round table, and that didn't go well. And the studio and producer actually fought for us to come back in. Well, what we had to do was we secretly had to ghost write a large notes document, as if from the male producer and studio executive's point of view, which they then delivered to the male director. And then the male director agreed, okay. And then they said, by the way, we should bring the writers back in and they can do all these things. But we were kind of in a back channel of at least fortunately having producers who believed in us when it kind of felt like we lost the movie for a second after that roundtable. But when we were able to reinstate a lot of things, and then there were some good jokes that the guys wrote. Like, I don't want to be dismissive of that process, because underwhelmed, can you be whelmed, or just that joke is written in as part of that roundtable, and that's a beloved line in the movie that I can take credit for, which I don't really, but even so long answer.
No, thank you. That was perfect.
Speaking of your stories, do you have like a distinct process for writing features, and is each project different?
Yes, I do have a distinct process, which is talking to people, having the idea, getting excited, then usually talking about it with a writing partner and beginning to build out whether or not this story has enough, like, can we actually figure out what Act 2 and Act 3 are? I love mysteries. I love watching mysteries. I love coming up with mystery ideas. The problem is I'm not great at plotting a mystery. So a lot of times it will be like, oh, what if it's then so and so found the body and then she has to solve a crime? And then I'm like, oh no, I've done it again, where now I have to solve the crime. And I just wish I were better at crime solving writing. I'm not really, but it's sort of like, okay, can we figure this plot out enough to be able to then begin to outline the movie, and then begin to either pitch it to some people to pay us to write it, or then write it ourselves. So it's a lot of talking and a lot of outlining and a lot of slowly building the idea, because I really tend to write. I spend probably more time outlining a movie than I would writing a first draft of a movie. I think it's important to know where you're going in the story.
100%.
That's just me. Yeah.
In terms of writing, what interests you the most about adapting Shakespeare's plays to present day?
For great plots, and 10 Things was really born out of us having seen the movie Clueless, which I'm sure a few of you have watched. Have you seen Clueless?
Yes.
Okay, great. We've got about like 30-50%. It was a big hit at the time. It was an adaptation of a Jane Austen novel called Emma, which you may or may not know. And so my writing partner and I had written a female action screenplay that we loved, but no one cared about. And so then we were like, what should we write next? And we thought, let's do what Amy Heckerling did. Let's adapt a classic story as a teen movie. So we searched high and low, and we found we were looking for a long time, for maybe like several months, of what story, myth, fairy tale, fable to contemporize, and then it was really just accidental in terms of getting a friend of mine brought up Taming of the Shrew as a possibility. So we weren't necessarily seeking out to adapt Shakespeare. It was more like, ooh, what can we, what again has a great enough idea, a clear enough story that that will last us all the way. Ooh, we know how to outline this. We could actually write it. So I just think he's got in he, she, they, whoever Shakespeare truly is, like, and it's such an amazing ability to give an incredible plot with fun twists and turns. And then we really had a good time kind of referencing some Shakespearean touches in the screenplay, and trying to bring a Shakespearean tone to it as well.
So fun. We have a question from the crowd actually. Would Ray want to come up and ask? She's really nice.
Wait, is there a whole other group of people over there?
Yeah. it's
Ray is over there. Wait.
It's not
Wait,
Ray.
I
It's
need-
not Ray. It's not. It's Haley because my phone's dying. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Sabrina, what's your
Hey. My name is Haley,
Hi.
not Ray. My friend was letting me use her phone. So you kind of answered my question a little bit, talking about just like adapting Shakespeare. But I was wondering, was there any other Shakespearean works or classic stories that you still like should take a shot at being contemporary, or that you'd like to write?
Well, I feel like I don't know. I thought about Two Gentlemen of Verona, but I every time I got a little further into it, it seemed kind of silly. It involves like a twins plot. I love a twin story. I love an identical story, but sometimes those can feel a little campy. So we did do Twelfth Night as He's the Man, which was really fun. And you know what, it was so crazy. I was in a Zoom with Reese Witherspoon's company, and they were like, they were really interested in writing developing YA projects. And they were like, yes, we're working on a new project that's based on a book. It's based on a 12th Night novel. It's kind of like 10 Things I Hate About You meets She's the Man. I'm like, why are you telling me this? This is weird. I'm having my own movies pitched to me as references. I don't know how to do that. Like, but if you guys think of any highly adaptable Shakespeare play, please let me know, because it does seem like it's time for us to do another one. You have any thoughts? What would it be?
No, not right now, because my favorite is probably Macbeth, and it's not like that great.
Okay. Right. It's not like it's not like a frothy romp, right?
a little bit harder.
I would love to see you guys do Midsummer's Night Dream.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Kiwi.
Yeah.
You know?
Wait, yes. Okay.
Right?
Right, without some of like the surreal touches, because weren't there some kind of surreal elements to it? Like, we could do this. Midsummer Night's Dream, that's come up before. We should do it. Okay.
You do it. It's like a lot of magical realism, and there's a lot of drunk stuff, and it's cool, right? It's funny.
Yeah.
And romantic. Okay, I'm gonna leave them alone.
My next question was, how do you find writing for television different from writing features? Do you have a preference?
Yes, writing for television different from writing features. Well, I find writing features a lot easier. I like seeing the beginning, middle, and end of the story arc. I just find I've trained my brain to work that way. Television is it's just a whole other structure in terms of writing. Like, you're really telling a long form story, but you also have to kind of stop and break it up into cliffhangers along the way. And I've only worked in television. I've written several pilots. I don't think that even counts, but our first job was on a sitcom, and then I adapted my novel into a series for Netflix, and I thought it was I collaborated with a young writing team. So we were kind of like a triangle of friends, and the show is about a triangle of friends. So I liked that element of it. It's just a lot of work. TV is just a lot. It's a really intense, and it feels just like a very intense, it never ending. It's just it's very intense. So I don't know if I would do it again, because I don't I don't know. I don't, it was really hard. I liked it, I enjoyed it. And yeah, it was really intense. It just takes a long time, and there's a lot of approvals. Like, you have to do a story area document, and then you have to do an outline, and then you have to do a script, and then you get notes, and you're getting notes from networks and studios and people all along the way so much. I really am proud of what we did. I'm so happy we got 2 seasons of our show. I really wanted 3, but now I realize 2 seasons is the new 3 seasons, so I'm happy we got it. And I love the cast, and that was fun. The end.
So, speaking of trinkets, we actually
Do most of you write features or television?
We're just working on shorts right now.
You're back.
Okay.
Yay.
We're back.
So speaking of trinkets, we have a question from the crowd about trinkets
Hi.
for you.
Okay, great.
Mariana, I did not. I'm so excited that you wrote Trinkets. Oh, I freaking love that show.
Oh, thank you so much. That makes me really happy that all that work was worth it and that you liked it.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I was actually really sad when it got canceled, but I loved it. But speaking of Trinkets, I know it's like a story about 3 powerful female characters, and I know you were just talking about like how it kind of was hard to like be able to juggle that, and like TV was intense, but how did you honestly find inspiration for like such different types of characters? Because I know the girls were like all very different from each other. And then how did you also like, did it ever become too much to like try and balance these stories out?
Well, I guess one thing that was good was that the show was half an hour. It was 10 episodes. So in a way, having 3 characters in a pretty condensed time frame, like, it wasn't like a 13 episode 1 hour show. So I felt like the structure of having 3 characters in a 30-minute format, 10 episodes, that actually was pretty manageable in a way. And I really, from the core concept, because this idea came from, I wanted to write a movie about 3 girls who meet in Shoplifters Anonymous, and then they decide to plan a heist. That was like my action movie idea, my heist movie idea. But as previously mentioned, there's some things like mysteries or heists that I'm just not good at plotting. They're like way above my pay grade. So I ended up not being able to crack the heist of it. So then I wrote it as a young adult novel that was more centered on the friendship. And I loved this movie growing up, The Breakfast Club, the John Hughes movie, which was about 5 very different kids who get all in detention together. And so I loved that notion of 3 girls who come from really different points of view, who might be enemies. It's a little enemies to lovers, like enemies to best friends kind of storyline, right? That they have this secret friendship that, I mean, I always dreamed of that. Like, I was a light shoplifter, let's say, and I kind of bonded with a friend of mine in high school stealing stuff. And then I was like, why isn't there a Shoplifters Anonymous? Like, shouldn't we be going to that? And then there wasn't. So I just thought, well, I'll just create one, and then create a fantasy bubble of meeting your soulmates while being in recovery from your kind of addiction, as it were. So it was really born of like me wanting to have that experience. And it was fun in the writer's room in the process of building the show to develop the characters, and really fun in the second season because we already knew the actors who were playing the roles. So that's just another element of like when you start, that is a joyful thing in TV when you start getting to write for the cast that you know is going to be playing those parts. And I really did love those actors. I love them all three very much. So I'm glad you liked it. That is like, it was all worth it. Yay.
It was. I was maybe watching it at an age I probably shouldn't have been, but it was really good. It was really good. I loved it. I loved it then. I loved it now. So
did it feel like it was too edgy or something? Because I feel like Netflix also had that teen show 13 Reasons Why, which was dark, like very dark. But ours maybe.
No, it's definitely not dark. I was just watching it when I was like, it came out 2018, so like when I was like 13, which wasn't probably it probably wasn't okay.
It was a bad influence on you. I'm sorry.
No. Definitely not. I love it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had another question. How is planning a script different when you're writing it by yourself as opposed to writing it with a partner? You spoke earlier about your writing partner, Karen McCullough, and how does she impact and enhance your process of telling stories?
Oh, we are such different people. So I think that's a lot about it is, you're collaborating with someone with a whole different set of shared lived experiences. So when you both find something funny, if we both agree, then we feel like it's a real win. Like it's appealing to a lot of people. We have a great shorthand having worked together for so long in terms of getting in a room together and just starting to spitball like, and then this could happen, and then this could happen, and then that could happen, and we can break story pretty quickly. I'm working on a new project right now with a different writing partner who also we can break story pretty quickly. And it's just I think that's the joy of a partnership, is sometimes I get very in the weeds. I've only written one screenplay by myself, and then I started collaborating, and I haven't really looked back from that creative model, because I think I find building out the story with someone is really fun. The sort of brainstorming and creation of the story. And then also, even though there are debates along the way of, taste or jokes or things like that, when you ultimately get notes, sometimes from a third party outsider, producer, or whatever, you have someone to be in the trenches with to talk through those notes. Because that's really hard, is when you are a young writer starting out and people are giving you notes and you're just like, how much do I change? Like, for figuring that out is I find it really useful to talk through the notes with someone else to kind of begin to reach a middle ground. And usually I'm like, yeah, let's change everything. And my writing partner's like, whoa, 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 whoa. So between those two things, it ends up being, we find our way to address notes. So yeah, it's just nice to have a person to bounce things off of and react to.
That's so awesome. Our next question is, what is your experience been watching somebody else? Like, you write a lot of stuff and you write it with other people, and then you give it to somebody else and they take it and then direct it. Like, what is your experience with that and watching somebody else direct your work? And do you want to spend more time directing, or are you very happy like watching somebody else work with it?
At this point, I feel like I'm happy watching someone else work with it. I directed a couple of short films, and with Anna Faris, who I starring in them, who was in The House Bunny. She was the lead of that film. And I really liked the way that movie turned out. I've enjoyed most of collaborations. I felt like with Legally Blonde, the director was a young director. Walter has met him, actually. We all three came to Denver to do a a screening and Q&A. It was a blast. And we got along so well with him, and we made another movie with him. And he was a director who was very much like, this script is great. I am not a writer. I'm going to shoot this movie, as opposed to trying to sort of sometimes rewrite or reconceive things. So, it's a collaborative field. So I like working with directors. Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of ambition to direct, and then I kind of got a bit sidelined, or projects didn't go forward, and then on in the working on the series, I don't know, I just kind of I don't have a burning need to direct at this point. I also think it's really, you gotta have a lot of energy and stamina. I think it's a young person's job in a way, especially if you've never done a feature before. So, and maybe that's ageist. I'm just really basing it on myself, and like, I believe in pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and doing things, but I also, yeah, I don't know. Is that bad that I don't want to direct?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. But I think it's really important to try. And I think you guys are writing your shorts right now, and maybe you'll direct them, or maybe you'll share, someone will direct someone else's. But I think that's a great experience, and to see if you enjoy it. And sometimes writers are like, I want to direct because I don't want anybody else messing it up. I just feel like that's part of the process, is people will imagine things differently, and you just have to sort of embrace that. I think directing is all about, it's just movie making is it's a moving train of choices and decisions that get made. And then once those things get made, whether it's a location, the costume designer coming in and doing an outfit that she likes, an actor getting cast in a small role, everything starts to take on a life of its own. And that life is a product of 100 people all coming together. So I think an auteur vision is slight myth making in a way. It's really about empowerment and collaboration if you're a filmmaker, and empowering the people that you like to do their best work.
Yeah. Is there something that you look for specifically when you're like, have you ever been in a situation where you have a script and you're looking for a director, or do you already have like relationships that you're like, okay, this is going to be for this? And if so, what do you look for in that relationship? Like, what are you seeking in another person in order to direct for you?
Well, usually once direct for me is a nice way to put it. I feel like once you hire a director, once you involve a director, then they become your boss. So that is like in television, not the case. In features, yes. Once you have a director, they're your boss. But right now, like, I wrote a couple of screenplays in the last year, and I'm looking for a director that has amazing talent relationships and is like a very strong grown up and can cast a movie, and has a good business sense and will make something good. But also, I just want someone who can cast the movie really.
Sweet.
I mean, I can do a little bit of that, but I need a director I can like knock on the door and send the script, but I need a director to close for me, with me, whatever. Yeah.
Kiwi, you're in a room with 18, 19, and 20-year-olds.
Yes.
So when you were 18, 19, and 20, what do you wish someone had told you about what you were about to enter into here?
Oh, well, I wish. As what?
As a minor felon, a light shoplifter.
Yeah.
What sort of advice would you have appreciated?
I would have appreciated like the advice to really complete something, whether it's your short film script, or if you have the time and resources and stamina to complete, like if you have a great idea that all your film student peers and professors love, like really push yourself to try to see that idea all the way to the end. Because I think I have regrets that there's a lot of scripts that young baby me was ideating, and I wrote like the first act of it, and I didn't write it all the way through to the end, even if I didn't quite know where I was going, but I wish that I did, so that I at least had a bad first draft as opposed to a cool first act, because I'm never going to be able to go back and write act 2 and 3. And just don't be super intimidated. Like, a movie can be 90 pages long. It doesn't have to be. And I think especially in this financial climate, like, you don't have to write a 120-page screenplay. Like, you're better off writing a 90-page and 89-page screenplay, and that is like kind of semi doable.
So it's a really tough industry. I mean, these guys, I think they only hear bad stuff. There's a lot of despair, I think, that creeps in sometimes, especially when they're overworked, as they are right now. During your hardest times, during your valleys and stuff, where did you find inspiration and courage and strength to keep plugging?
I think I really found it through, I just love actors so much. I love young actors. I really get excited to like write a movie for someone, even if I barely know them or I don't know them at all. I love watching movies. I find the business itself so inspiring to me. And I love talking to other writers. I love coming up with ideas. I just feel like I'm a fan first and foremost. So I never get tired of wanting to use my whatever credibility I have to just keep going and like write a movie for Rachel Sennett, or come up with a fun idea and write it. I mean, I'm writing a movie right now for a young actress named Catherine Newton, who was in Lisa Frankenstein. I don't know if you guys saw that. Really cool movie.
You're getting a huge response.
We got some gasps from over there.
Really?
Yeah, some gasps and some things going on.
Yeah, like she came, I'm friendly with the director, Zelda, and she brought Catherine to my house birthday party, which was really great. And Catherine and I met on Twitter, but anyway, yeah, Catherine's almost like a semi-professional golfer, which I don't know anything about golf, but she really was like wanted to do a golf comedy that she can star in. So somehow we ended up talking about it, and then now I'm writing the movie for her. And quite almost accidentally, but I love her and I think she's brilliant. And like, how cool is this? Just when you're sort of, oh no, the strikes and what's going to happen, and I'm not getting paid a lot for this movie. It's a Blumhouse comedy, which I don't think has ever been done before, but which is kind of cool, right? Like, Blumhouse is making a comedy starring Catherine Newton. What? But I mean, that stuff like that, I'm like, I love this girl. She's brilliant. Like, she's super cool and smart, and so yes, I'm like totally excited to write a movie for her, and that's what I'm doing in this hotel room, is like chopping it up, writing. I just started writing my scenes today with my writing partner Mamrie, who's we spent like months outlining the movie, so now we're doing it. We're writing a Catherine Newton golf comedy. Just when you think you're like gonna give up and throw in the towel, something like that happens.
So I've been really pushing
Collaborators, I guess.
I've been really pushing professionalism with these guys and stuff, so they're embarrassed to ask, but I think they want to hear a little bit about Heath Ledger. Did you know about him? Did you write for him?
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you asked. Yes.
Best joke.
Weirdly, Heath Ledger's moved to LA because he fell in love with a much older woman that he was on a TV show with in Australia. That older woman was a glamorous actress named Lisa Zane, she's Billy Zane's older sister. Okay, so she lived with a friend of mine in this great apartment, whatever. Okay, anyway, my friend Matt is like, well, Lisa's going to come home from Australia, and she's like falling in love with this young Aussie actor. She plays like his he played her son in it or something. I don't know. Anyway, so he kept hearing this guy coming from Australia. They're moving back, and then I was over at their apartment, and in the down the hallway he walks, and he's like, "I'm Heath," and I was like, "You don't seem like this young." He seemed like fully like an adult, like way more sophisticated, charismatic, smarter, cooler than I was. I think I was 27. He was 18. Anyway, he'd come to LA. He'd signed with CAA. He had a stack of scripts. And my friend was like, he got sent your script, 10 Things I Hate About You, which had just started going. Like the movie had been. And anyway, I was like, no way, this is so coincidental, right? Like, so I said to him, he was blonde at the time, and you know, fresh off the boat from Perth, Australia. I'm like, you should be Cameron. And he's like, I am Petruchio. He was like, I'm not the new guy. I'm Petruchio. He used the Shakespearean name, Petruchio, because he was so smart. He like read the play and knew all this stuff. This is how smart he was. But he was just like a radiant, charismatic, energetic being. I mean, obviously, he's dating a woman 20 years older. He's way cooler than everybody. And he wore so the director, I think, was a little threatened that then we hung out. So he auditions for the role. You guys, he wore all the other boys, Josh Hartnett, etc., who auditioned, wore just like jeans and a t-shirt. He wore a white suit with a black button-up shirt underneath it that was like, you know, unbuttoned, very like John Travolta Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you know this movie, but like what a choice to like walk in and like in a suit. Like somehow he made that cool. Like that could have seemed super bad and nerdy, you know, or thirsty or whatever, but like he made it seem like a renegade move, and it worked, and he got the role. And then we hung out and talked about the script, and you know, he had great ideas, and obviously we were on set when he had his first day of shooting. He was the last actor to arrive to the set in Washington, just outside of Seattle, Washington, where we shot. And everyone was a little like kind of awkward, you know, everyone's first movie it was. He arrived, he has with him his best friend from high school, Trevor. And I was like, wait, what's Trevor doing here? And he's like, he managed to negotiate into his deal a personal assistant fee and contract for his best friend Trevor. So they just roll in and begin like taking over the whole thing. Like they are the ringleaders, you know. Heath was just a natural leader in every way. It's his birthday on the 5th. So it's good we're talking about him. We're entering into Aries season. Anyway, he was an amazing person, and I remember he was very involved in the costumes for his character. Like when we were there, he was also super focused on choosing the right costume for the serenade scene. And it's interesting to think about, because when you think about the costumes in 10 Things, it's like, oh, Bianca's unfortunate prom dress, or, you know, like wild costumes. His costumes are so timeless and so invisible. Like they don't look like 90s or late 90s period costumes. And that's just because he had taste, he had involvement. He was just a guy that was like creating his character with the clothes, and definitely didn't want to be dressed in anything that gave a false note. I have lots to say about him. He's an absolutely incredible person on every level.
One of the best to ever do it, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to
Thank you.
move on from this, which is crazy.
That was a
so
lot
much
of
information.
Information, guys. Sorry.
I have to process that, but we have an audience question again from Amara. She wants to come up, wherever she is. To process this. Give me a second.
Hi, so I'm Amara.
Hi.
I just wanted to say Ella Enchanted changed my brain chemistry
Yes,
as a
thank you
kid.
for saying that.
I love it, but my question
That's cool.
how do you feel about Legally Blonde being made into like a Broadway musical? And like, how do you feel about the musical itself? Because that's like, that must be like surreal, or I don't know.
Yes, that's exactly the word. And it really was not, I want to know how Ellen Enchanted changed your brain chemistry. Will you tell me that? Just out of curiosity, because the movie was not successful when it came out. So the fact that you have seen it and it's impacted you in some ways, really cool.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. It was just like the first time that like a fairy tale movie was like in like different and interesting, and like the somebody to love scene was like ingrained in my brain. And I love Anne Hathaway. I don't know. It was just like so good. It was like one of the first movies I remember watching and being like, oh, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like seeing fantasy with like modern jokes, it's so good.
Oh, thank you guys. That's really cool. We're gonna have a screening of that movie that coming up this next week, and I'm so excited. I've never seen it in a theater since it came out. So I wish you guys were in LA so you could come.
I wish I was in LA too.
So the musical Legally Blonde, really, the studio sold that rights to it to or licensed the rights to a Broadway producer, and they really did not want anybody involved in the original movie to be part of making the musical. So one of our producers, the man who produced the film Legally Blonde, is this guy Mark Platt, who also had produced Wicked, major hit movie. They didn't even want him to be involved. It was really weird. Like they had this whole separation of, the movie is over here and the play will be over here. So we didn't know at all what we were going to see, but they were kind enough to invite us to the opening night on Broadway and that was crazy to walk into a theater where they like turned all the floors and seats pink. And I just remember we being this giant hot pink cocoon and watching our film get translated into this whole other extravaganza and whatever sort of being lightly butthurt that we weren't involved in it kind of fell away and getting to see the work reimagined was really, really cool, really surreal, to use your word. And I've seen a couple different high school productions of it, and that's really fun to see as well. It seems like people, they did a good job on the adaptation.
Thank you.
Did you ever perform in it?
Oh no, I didn't. But if I was performing it in high school and you were in the audience, I would have probably like lost my mind.
That's very sweet. I would have been like, they would have been, who's that lady?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amara.
Thank you.
I got to tech Legally Blonde for my senior show in high school. It was so much fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, we have another question. Sorry, I have to focus.
I was wondering, how has poetry affected your script writing? Because I know that you have a verse novel, I think it's called, and I know that like that's been a big part of your academic career is poetry. So I was wondering, how has that affected your script writing?
That's a lovely question. Thank you. Well, I think that there's something about, I always wrote poems to be like really character based. I would write first person poems, almost like a little scene. So I loved getting in the head of a character that was not me. I would often write from points of view of different genders and ages. And so the poems kind of had a beginning and middle and end to them. And so I felt like that was kind of like how I applied that process to screenwriting, where you have a scene that's kind of got its own arc to it. It's a chance to live in a character's skin. It's also a chance to make sure your language is really precise, with a poem, you're working on a kind of a condensed space and word count, not so like entirely rigid, but I just think precise language and like vivid language, I try to put that into even description, trying to give the any all the lines in the script should be strong and punchy, whether they're in description or dialogue. That would be the goal anyway, other than he nods, she turns and goes, basic stuff like that. But I always try to vary it. I just try to get a little precise about it in the script, which is probably from being a poet.
Awesome, thank you.
And I do feel like it was cool to, I never was going to become a famous poet, because I think you had to do a really hardcore journey into becoming an academic. And then I was worried I wasn't going to be like a Walter Chaw, where I could stand in front of a room and orate and be a great professor and academic. So it's nice that one of my poems made it onto screen in 10 Things I Hate About You. So I always, little baby poet me got to have that experience. And my first screen credit was a poem in a movie called Poison Ivy 2. So my boss knew I was a poet, and she said, well, you should write the poem in this scene in the script. So I guess maybe I've somehow managed to bridge the two worlds.
Awesome.
Please, you don't need to see Poison Ivy 2. It's not a great poem, unless you want to see Alyssa Milano's boobs, which there's a lot. They're beautiful, and they're all in Poison Ivy 2. I should stop now. Okay.
Thank you.
We have another audience question for you from Ileana.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Ilana. I was curious, what is an important aspect for you when writing and developing strong female characters? Is there anything that you fight for or advocate for when writing these characters?
Wow. I feel like I'm just trying to write a character that is someone that I love and want to spend time with on screen. I think there's more excitement for really fierce characters as time has progressed, and I'm excited about that. Like, for instance, in 10 Things I Hate About You, Kat is a really kind of defiant character with a chip on her shoulder, and in the original script, her parents were married. She had a mom who was present on screen, and one of the notes the studio gave was like, we don't understand why she's so angry. Like, can you please kill her mother so that we understand she's mad because her mom's dead? And you're like, okay, well, we're not going to kill her mother, but we will. Her parents are separated, that kind of thing. So that was a moment of advocating. But I don't know. I feel like I want the girls to be a little spicy and cool and like also vulnerable as well, and funny and all those things. So I think that's just my North Star, is to try to make them cool and punk rock.
Yes.
All the I don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
And like I said, it helps when you're when writing for someone like Catherine, as I'm starting to do right now. Like, she has all those things already. So I don't really even need to advocate for her character, because she's gonna advocate just by being herself, which is really, I feel very lucky to even have that. It's a thrill, to have that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would Angela?
You guys are doing a great job moderating, by the way.
Thank you.
Do you do this for every guest?
It's my first time.
Wow, it's going great.
Yeah.
I like this tandem approach too, and
We get to summon people
Really
up.
well
Really
done.
fancy.
This is very slick.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Audience question. Angela, would you like to come up?
You've been summoned.
Been summoned.
I'm like, what?
Oh, I see you.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to start off by saying that like you've really like inspired me throughout my entire life.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. I don't even know how to process that. I don't have children, so you are filling that role for me. I don't need to have bread. I have you.
Okay, my question is if like 10 things I hate about you or Shoots the Man were remade today, like if you would want to be a part of like the production team or if you would like change anything from the original movies.
For those two, well, it's just really hard to I mean, it's hard to go back and have it's a like we said, collaboration, and there were moments of real frustration in 10 things with the director and so on and so forth. But um looking back on how well that movie came together, sometimes it's just you have to embrace the flaws of the process and your frustrations because it is something that you cannot do alone. You have to be in community, and sometimes the people in the community of making the movie can be obnoxious or have different tastes than you but it's hard. I mean, maybe there's some like jokes that I wouldn't have in it now, and I think I'd have more inclusivity and diversity in the cast. I think would be really a key thing, and I feel like I wish we'd have all been thinking about that in in a bigger way during that era. And even so I think that's probably like the biggest thing, I think. So yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're almost out of time, so this is gonna be our last question for
Okay.
you for today. But are there any niche like screenwriters or just writers in general or filmmakers that you recommend students who want to write to study?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that I read a lot of scripts when I was in college. I had an internship and I read scripts and I did coverage, and it was hard to find screenplays back then. There wasn't ability online. They weren't accessible. I found that like reading a lot of scripts was really good for me as a young writer. And I found sometimes that like watching a movie that I loved and then pausing, whatever movie you like as one of your benchmark movies, pausing it and kind of like writing down the scene or what you're seeing, which is a very exhausting way to watch a movie, but I found it really instructive because I'd write down like, you know, 16 minutes in, exterior car shot, like she says this, she said that. It's like I'm almost transcribing as I go. And I learned a lot reading scripts and writing coverage and watching movies and turning them into beat sheets. I learned how to assemble a film because I think sometimes watching movies is such an escape, right? Like I watch a lot of movies for escape, and I can't help but also think about them, how they're constructed. But I think challenging yourself to deconstruct a movie that you love and break it down to its essential parts can really teach you how to then build a movie from nothing. So I think it really depends on the genre that you like, and trying to maybe help get Walter or the internet to help you find screenplays for movies that you love. I actually have a really cool thing that I could send you guys. One of my collaborators put together a list or collection of PDFs of like her favorite comedy scripts. Some produced, some unproduced over the last few years. So I can send I can forward that along to you guys so that if you want to take a peek at some, you know, comedy writers' favorite comedy scripts. I thought she did a beautiful job curating all those. So I can send that to you if you're interested in reading them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's our time. I just want to say, because you seem kind of surprised to hear it, you've been such an inspirational force for this generation of young men and women. That spiciness that you're talking about in your writing, the first time I ever heard somebody speak up about the white patriarchy in terms of curriculum was in 10 Things I Hate About You. It was the very first time I heard anybody say anything about that. And that means a lot to a person of color, and it means a lot to these people. And this is the generation actually that's really kind of latched onto those ideas. They don't even seem revolutionary anymore. They're just how it needs to be, you know? But you're kind of the tip of the spear for a lot of this stuff. And whenever I say that I know you, I get a bigger reaction than almost anybody else, you know? So you have to know that you've made a huge impression.
Wow. Oh man, thank you.
And what we're gonna do, if you're okay with it,
Yeah.
you're kind of you're being projected on a big screen in front of us. Would you mind if these guys got up there and took a picture with you?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
Oh.
Hey, Kiwi.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your dog's name? We saw
Oh, Mr. Scoots.
Scoots on the couch. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, Kiwi.
Thank you guys
So much.
Amazing job. Thank you for all the questions. They were fantastic.
I'm gonna
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna follow up with you about the PDFs. Okay.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
All right.
All right. Have a
wonderful
great
night.
night. Thank you guys.